Good evening, everybody. Happy Saturday evening. Busted out my Savinelli 128 Dolomiti. I don't remember the last time I've had this pipe out rusticated. That's a good English, or not an English, but a Virginia pipe. It's a billiard with a taller bowl. It's almost 2 inches. It's really good for Englishes, and that's what I grabbed tonight. In it, some Cardiff by Esoterica. Straight Virginia, pretty simple. It's good. It always reminds me of, let's say, like peaches, maybe. Like a fruity kind of flavor. It's very, very straightforward. It's not a complex blend. I think it has seven or eight Virginias in it. Oh, four Virginias. It gets okay ratings on Tobacco Reviews, 2.6. But it's I agree with a lot of the reviews. No thrills, frills, specials. Nothing that's going to really blow you away. It's just a good tobacco, a good straight Virginia. What do? Too hot to drink neat tonight, so monkey shoulder on ice. And I don't think the bottle's going to survive the night. So say a little prayer for the bottle. It's been a week. So super hot today in North Carolina. It's really hot even out here now at what time? Almost 8, still hot. But I'm committed to some pipes and some scotch tonight, maybe a cigar, so I'm going to tough it out. It's cooling off a little, but reminds me of summertime in the 80's, when it was super hot. And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit tonight. Cruising in the 80's, in the summer. So, totally unscripted. This is just straight off the top, right? It's usually how I like to do my videos. So I'd start by saying, obviously growing up as a teenager in the 80's, no cell phones, no computers, no internet, really nothing to keep you distracted. So you went out and you found stuff to do. And in the summertime, especially on Fridays and Saturday nights, that stuff to do was go to the mall and go cruising. Not necessarily in that order. So cruising means a little bit different to probably everybody. But here's what it meant to a kid growing up in central Ohio in the mid-80's. Mid to late 80's. Probably more late 80's by the time we had our license, because you have to have a license to cruise. First of all, we weren't dumb kids. We knew that there'd be drinking going on, and we knew it was unsafe to drink and drive. We weren't stupid. So that's the one thing I'll go back and say we were pretty smart about. So we grew up on a lake, and the term started there. But we had what we called a sober skipper. It started out because being on the lake and who was going to stay sober and drive the boat. But it translated over to who's going to stay sober and drive the group. And guys are really good about it. When it was your turn to be sober skipper, it was your turn to be sober skipper. There were times where maybe another guy would be like, you know what, I'm not feeling it. Go ahead and I'll take it. But I mean, when I say sober skipper, I'm talking pretty responsible. Did not even have a beer or two. I mean, the sober skipper was the sober skipper. I always hated being a sober skipper, not because I was not drinking, but because my daggone friends, man, when they started drinking and you try to keep everybody in line, man, that was a full-time job. So being the sober skipper was very, very difficult to keep everybody aligned and everybody wanting to go 6 different ways. It's, what's that old saying go? It's like herding cats. It was like herding cats. I hated it. Took my turn when it was my turn to be sober skipper. But one thing is, nobody was going to die in a drunken driving crash. So getting booze was the next thing. Once sober skipper was, and you knew when your time was coming to be sober skipper, but once it was decided who would be sober skipper, then how are we going to get to booze? Multitude of ways. Many, many ways. One of the most easiest ways and always most nerve-wracking is we go through a beer drive-through. They were big in Ohio. And, you know, I looked a little bit older than, 16, 17. So did a few of my friends. We'd wheel through the beer drive-through and just ask for a suitcase of Busch Light or Busch. Started out Busch. I remember when Busch Light came out in '88. Man, that was huge. Huge. To this day, I will tell you what. Busch Light and Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. Try it. Tell them Buckeye Piper sent you. That was the thing back in the day. And it was good. I haven't had Busch Light in a minute. We drank the hell out of Busch Light. We also had a friend who had a brother who was of legal age. And we'd done our fair share of Black Cherry Seagram's wine coolers. Funny story, not so much about Cruisin. I'm going to get off Cruisin for a second. We're out drinking at a friend's one night at her dad's, and they had a pond. And we just kept chucking those freaking bottles into the pond, being young and stupid. Putting the cap on, chucking them in. Yeah, they all floated. Got busted. Live and learn, man. But okay, so you got sober skipper, you've secured your booze. Another method, I had friends that worked at McDonald's where I worked at. Sometimes they would be able to score some beer. One time they scored me a bottle of Mad Dog I'll never forget. Oh boy, that was a hell of a night. I hid that bottle of Mad Dog in a ditch out by my buddy's farm for a week or two in a hot ass summer. Terrible heat. Dug it out. Oh yeah, you drank it. Another way, back in the day that we would find booze growing up on the lake is, people would be done boating for the weekend or whatever, and they'd leave their last little remains of beer left out for somebody to have, and we'd get it. That was another way. But you got sober skipper, you got your booze. Time to hit the road. You have to have tunes to really kick it. And I was a big, still get ribbed to this day. I was a Hair Nation, that's the serious station, but I was a big ballad guy, hair band guy. Don't get me wrong, I like all music. But sober skipper, the advantage was you got to pick the station. But almost certainly what was playing was pirate radio. And every now and then I'll go on YouTube and catch a clip of the old pirate radio. I can't remember off the top of my head who the DJ was. But they were rocking Poison and Kicks and Faster Pussycat and Warrant. And man, all those bands that are still huge to this day. I still love going to see Poison in concert. Cinderella, Dockin. That's a whole nother video, right? But anyhow, so you got your tunes, you're rocking, and then you got to find the girls. So we'd cruise around and find the girls and figure out where we were going, chase them, they chase us. We'd cruise Newark, Ohio, Zanesville, Ohio, wherever we thought would be popular. The mall was in Newark. Every now and then we'd hit Lancaster. Not often. We were more Licking County, Newark kids than we were, even though we lived in Fairfield County, than we were Fairfield County, Lancaster kids. Now, Desert Rose in the summer, that's another story for another time. Teen night at Desert Rose. We'll tell that one another night. And there you have it. We just cruised, man. We would cruise and we would laugh and we would pick on each other and we would punch each other and kick each other. Those guys to this day are still my brothers. Best friends for life. And what's super cool is if I go back to Ohio or catch up with them, we could just pick up right where we left off. It's like we didn't miss a beat, man. Sure, times changed. A few friends distanced themselves. I went different direction. I went military. They went to college. I always tell people, I had a kid and I love my son, man. He is the best. But he's dang near, he'll be 29 this year in October. I was 17 when he was born. He was born on the 5th of October, 26 days before my 18th birthday. So I always tell people, all my friends now are raising kids, right? And their kids are in school and doing their thing. But I lived my life kind of in reverse of what they're living their life. I was responsible, Navy, child support on my McDonald's check when I was in school, all that crap, right? Grew up much too fast. Well, guess what? Now me and Mrs. Buckeye, are totally different. We're traveling, we're camping, we're going places. And my friends are like, damn, it must be nice to have a camper and go here and there. Man, it must have been nice to go to college and do all those things too. We're on different paths. And I wouldn't trade my life for a minute. I love my son to death. Love how my life turned out. I love that I served the country in the Navy. I wouldn't change any of it, even if I could go back. Wouldn't. Made me who I am today. Cruising in the 80s. Where are the girls at? What a time. What a time to be alive. And think about this. We were cruising. There wasn't any cell phones to text and, hey, check us out, meet us up at the BP, and we're all going to hang out and catch us here or go to the mall. No, you had to go find where the people were. It was like a damn scavenger hunt every weekend. You start at the mall. Shit, excuse my language. There ain't nobody here. Okay. Well, I don't have to worry about cussing. We're 13 minutes in, and nobody watches more than 4 minutes of my video. So if you've watched it this far, we're really good friends. Or family, or I'm paying you. One of the three. So cussing be damned. But anyhow, you had to go find where the people were. Oh, I heard there was a party out here at this other school. I heard there was this going on. You drive out 30 miles, wanting crap there. Okay, where to now? Well, I heard this might be going on. Even telephones. I mean, we may stop and call somebody, but who the hell, if they weren't at the house, how were you going to get them? You weren't. So you went out and literally drove around till you found a crowd to hang with and have fun with. And that's how it was, man. Gosh, I would go back to those times. Today, but Mrs. Buck and I were talking. Even today, going to bed at night, could be reading a book, doing something else. We both have our nose in our phones. Facebook, reading articles on the news. When the hell? What? Isn't that crazy? And that's a topic for another video. Don't get me started. But man, I would go back to those times. And I know every generation says, your damn kids are spoiled. Get off my grass. And we had to walk uphill to school both ways in the snow. You know, everybody says that. But the 80's was a hell of a time to grow up. And I wouldn't trade that for the world. You know, I know the 70's kids have their pot, and even the 60's kids have their pot and Woodstock intermixed between 60's and 70's, and the Beatles and rock and roll, and the times are changing. We had hair bands, and we had, you know, everybody looked at us like we were dumb. Hair bands are still around, folks, and they're still really popular, and they're still touring some pretty big arenas. It's because dumbasses like me still like to relive when they're 16 and 17 and remember back when, you know, when it was just simpler. If you wanted to go somewhere, you walked or you drove or you rode your bike. You know? You didn't text. You didn't have Uber and Lyft and all this other crap. Think about it now. 16-year-old could pick up their phone, set up an Uber, and drive multiple towns over, texting all the way. It's not how we grew up. There wasn't cyberbullying. If you got bullied or something happened, it was in school. And you kicked the kid's ass, you moved on. Or you got your ass kicked and you moved on. And you didn't hold grudges. I don't know. Man, what a time. What a time. Cruising in the 80's, just driving around. What can you get into? What can you find? Who's about? Who do you want to meet? Talking to people. Face to face. Not even video, right? Man. What a time. I'd love to hear your stories. Did you cruise? Even if you weren't an 80's kid, I know damn well the 60's and 70's kids cruised, and probably the 50's kids did as well. You know, you made fun. You found fun. It wasn't instant gratification. It wasn't 24-hour news. The world shut down on Sunday. You know, if a news story broke, you heard about it the next morning. You didn't get a text in the middle of the night. Don't get me wrong, folks. I'm not advocating we go backwards. I'm not saying that we rewind all the advancements we've made. Technology is a beautiful thing. The internet is fantastic. Times have changed. You need information, you pick up your phone and you've got information within 2 seconds. You don't have to go to the library and look something in an encyclopedia. It's done. I can answer your question on the spot. But there's a price. There's a price with that technology. You know. And that price to me is giving up how I was raised, how I came up, how I learned things that I learned, when I learned them, and how I learned them. Not saying it's better, not saying it's worse. You can hear old Bo. He's been hanging with me on the porch the whole time. He's a good boy. 20 minutes and still going. I'll let y'all get off here. If you watch the whole video just for craps and giggles, put down in the bucket or put down in below deck that you watched it all. And at the end of the video, Buckeye Piper said, "Cowabunga." Not that that means anything, but that just shows that you watched the video. But anyhow, you all be safe. Take care of each other. Pay it forward. Wishing you all the blessings in the world. And if you're going to be around tonight, hit me up on House Party, because it's going to be one of those nights. Cruising the old school way. Bless y'all. God bless y'all. We'll catch you later.